Hello, and that's right, Synology surveillance cameras are now released. We talked about this 5 months ago here on the channel during their Synology 2023 and beyond presentation, and now, as of March 22nd, they are released. And although I don't have one here in the studio, I have played with them a little bit, doing it remotely, and of course seeing them at some of the several different events that Synology have hosted, and hopefully I'll have a review for you here on the channel very shortly. But in today's video, I want to break through all the things we know about them, but moreover, I want to give you 5 reasons why you might want to consider Synology cameras for your next surveillance station setup, and 5 reasons why you might want to skip them and go for someone else. Because let's face it, they're not reinventing the wheel here, so to speak. What they are doing is adding another ecosystem device into their whole range of devices. Just where is that Synology switch? So without further ado, let's crack on with the first reason why you might want to consider the Synology BC500 and TC500 for your next surveillance purchase. Now, I mentioned this in the introduction, but Synology releasing IP cameras isn't reinventing the wheel. Indeed, here on the channel, we have spoken about a lot of IP cameras over the years from different brands like Anker, Reolink, Hikvision, Axis, you name it, we have talked about them. However, this is the first time we've seen a NAS brand release IP cameras. Now, why would that be significant? Well, first and foremost, because if you are looking to buy a camera for your Synology NAS, or you know what, any NAS system, you will find that when you go to the registered compatibility list of devices that have been certified for use, there are a lot of devices to choose from, more than 8,000 on the compatibility list from Synology. And even then, that doesn't encompass all of them when you factor in things like OnViv support. So choosing the right cameras for your setup can be overly complex to know you're getting the right one, because even if you narrowed it down, even if you chose that you wanted to get a bullet style camera with LEDs, night vision, and even if you wanted some AI on board, you're still going to get that narrowed down to hundreds, if not thousands of devices. And therefore, if you are a Synology NAS user and you are going to be running a fairly intensive surveillance station operation, I think it's going to be really user-friendly for a lot of users wanting to stay within the ecosystem. Because though we've talked about some mixed feelings some users have had about Synology rolling out their hard drives, I think when it comes to the IP cameras, a NAS brand not only endorsing specific cameras, but also putting their name to cameras is going to be hugely, confidence building for a lot of Synology surveillance users. Next up, let's talk about that Edge AI service that these cameras are going to be bringing to a lot of users of Synology devices. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, nice and simple. Normally, if you want to take advantage of Synology's AI-supported services within Surveillance Station 9, you have to use one of the beefier units, the DVA 1622 or the DVA 3221, a particularly beefy device. And this is because running AI-supported services with deep video analysis live on recorded footage that's happening as and when does take a lot of resources. And in the case of using Synology services there's lots of things that you can take advantage of where you won't be going through reams and reams and hours and days and weeks of footage where it's just been a tree moving out of shot. A lot of the time it's useful to utilize an AI that's analyzing footage coming from the feed and then giving you appropriate notifications, or no notification at all if it's not appropriate. Now, currently, you can't use these services on non-deep video analysis NASs, but thanks to their cameras featuring onboard hardware that does the AI job outside of the NAS work, the result is that the camera will take advantage of a lot of those AI-assisted services for recognition in, when you're getting multiple cameras outside your home or business. And then, rather than the NAS trying to monitor the feed and analyze that with the AI, the camera's going to do it first, and then you can send that to any old Synology NAS with Surveillance Station. Now, not all the AI services that are included in a deep video analysis NAS are included. More on that later on. But some of the entry-level ones are included with these. So, for example, as we can see here at the bottom, people, vehicle, and group loitering detection. So it can kind of recognize that when there's larger groups of people amassing together. Same goes to that crowd detection as well as intrusion detection, where you can do better defined areas of in and out of any building or area and get the AI to recognize that rather than just traditional motion. Yes, you were able to draw lines on previous versions of Surveillance Station, but this is a lot more intelligent in what it's seeing and how it's interpreted. So one of the great benefits of these cameras, although people, can go for other cameras out there that have these services on board, Surveillance Station has not been able to take advantage of this onboard hardware and the way that Synology allowing on these cameras, and therefore allowing non-deep video analysis NAS users a way to access a lot of those AI surveillance features. Nice and simple, this one. Synology's cameras include a Surveillance Station license. Now, for those that have not been following surveillance on NAS for a long time, you may not be in the loop on this one, but most NAS providers have their surveillance software included. Not just Synology, QNAP, TerraMaster, Asus, all of those. They've all got a surveillance platform included with their NAS systems. Now, in order to keep it maintained as good as it can be in terms of, efficiency, power, features, security, and more, there's always been this kind of implicit understanding between the NAS brand and the end users, be they home or business, that they will give you access to the software up to a given point. And that given point has been defined as camera licenses. So if you're a home user, pretty much every single Synology NAS you can buy has got 2 camera licenses included. One camera out the front of your house, one out the back. Lovely security. But if you're a business user who's got assets, they need to be secured. You've got staff members, you've got car parks, you've got multi-site deployments. You're going to have 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 cameras deployed. Synology drew the line where with their software, if you want to take advantage of widespread and kind of business certified and business kind of insured security, you're going to have to kind of chip into the software in a way with these licenses. And with that, they, like Synology, like many other brands, released a system whereby you could get camera licenses in packs of 1, 4 bigger batches that allow you to add on more and more cameras. And one of the earliest questions we had about the BC500 and TC500 was about camera licenses, because if I'm buying a Synology camera, I'll be damned if I'm buying a Synology camera license for my Synology camera on my Synology NAS. And they've confirmed very early doors, before this launch I should say at least, that they are not factoring any kind of licensing into these cameras. When you use them, you won't use an existing camera license on your system. You won't need an additional camera license on your system to use the Synology BC500 and TC500 with your NAS. Another thing worth touching on with Synology's range of cameras, and again, once again, they're not reinventing the wheel here, but it's a nice little desirable factor from within Surveillance Station 9. They include SD card slots on the cameras. What that means is you can take advantage of edge recording, which is when you have cameras dotted around your home or business environment, all connected via the network, but they also have an SD card inside that allows you to record onto that. And in the event of a network failure there or a severing of the network connections around your home or business environment, it's still going to be recording onto that camera SD card. And then when the network is re-established, it will resynchronize those recordings with the NAS there. And again, you can enable that within Surveillance Station 9. And that is a feature that's always existed. But it's nice that they're included here, particularly when you factor in that edge level AI services there for people recognition, vehicle recognition, and that loitering recognition there. Because what you don't want is a situation where, yes, you've got that being recorded to the SD card, but you want to still have those AI assisted alerts. I will say I'm a little narked off that they don't include an SD card slot, an SD card with these. It is still an empty slot, and although it supports up to a 128 gig SSD in that micro SD slot, I'm kind of surprised they didn't roll in an SD card inside there, because they're not exactly expensive. This last point is more general housekeeping about these drives, and it's kind of little things that I really like about it. First and foremost, I really like that they arrive with a 3-year warranty. I know that doesn't sound like much, but I've reviewed a lot of IP cameras over the last few years, and I tell you right now, I've seen a lot of IP cameras with 1 and 2 year warranty. So I'm really glad they've slapped on that 3-year warranty there on both of these models, and almost certainly this is going to be a continuing series moving forward. I can't see Synology stopping up these 2 cameras, so it's nice that they've put that line early doors that says this is going to be a 3-year warranty product. Maybe there'll even be expansions on those, but I'll have to wait and see. The other thing is to do with security. They've kind of really pushed hard on the whole security aspect very early doors. If you look at some of the initial coverage of these cameras and you look at the security levels that they've featured there, you've got a lot of details with regards to how they've been certified for security as well. There's obviously the utilization we mentioned before of SRTP, but then on top of that they are NDAA certified as well, and then you can go straight into the TAA compliance. And just non-stop, they've really pushed hard on the security aspects of these cameras. Something you probably would have expected. I wouldn't be surprised if we see in Surveillance Station 9 improvements and little add-ons within Surveillance Station 9 for these cameras as well. And even when we look at a lot of the hardware specifications of these cameras and we look at kind of some of the stuff they support, what they can do, stuff like the Nightvision at 30 feet, which is fairly standard, but they've got that enhanced view mode within the nighttime for a little bit of sharpness there. And just generally, it is a well put together camera. I'm not going to say that I think these cameras from Synology are a knockout, because they are quite a quality little product. I would say of the cameras that I've looked at in the last 2 to 3 years here on the channel, these are up there in terms of their hardware specifications. They're not groundbreaking, so I'm going to talk about it later on, but as an initial entry into their range of cameras, they're a solid build model for these. But these aren't going to be for everyone. Let's talk about the 5 reasons why you might want to give Synology cameras a miss, or at least wait maybe a year or so down the line. That's right, we got to talk about it, the price point on these cameras. Even though the initial launch has happened today on March 22nd, we still don't have a lot of information about pricing right now. And even when you try to look at any availability of these cameras anywhere online with regards to price points, it's just not available anywhere. And I think we have to accept that Synology are almost certainly going to charge something of a premium on these cameras, notwithstanding that inclusive camera license there, and because they've already got quite an expensive range of AI DVA assisted products there. I would say that these cameras are certainly going to be a noticeable degree more expensive than the same comparative hardware from, again, alternatives like Reolink, Hikvision, Anchor, that sort of thing. I don't think I would stylize their price point near Axis, but I have seen some wild early door pricing online when I saw early mention of these. I'm not going to show them on screen, but you can find out about them more in that article I've mentioned here, because again, just go to that article. You can find out more about the pricing there where it's listed. But we saw pricing online in some places of $499, which I'm sure is incorrect for these cameras. But the problem is that without any comparative pricing data, and Synology haven't confirmed, even though I've asked the pricing yet, I can't really tell you. But I think we have to accept these are going to be expensive cameras. Now, I kind of alluded to this earlier in the video, but right now, these are the only 2 Synology surveillance cameras available there. And as good as they are, once again, I do like the build quality there and the feature set that's included with them. I will say that for anyone looking to spec up their surveillance system early doors, that is not a big enough range. I might have said earlier on, again, it's nice to not have to scroll through 8,200 cameras, but there's still no avoiding that those 2 cameras, as good as they are, do not fit most user experiences. And right now they are going up against a lot of IP camera brands. Again, to highlight Reolink again, just because they're in the field of view here with the cameras I'm holding. But the sheer range of different kinds of cameras, from solar-powered cameras to pan-tilt zoom-related cameras, dome-related cameras, outdoor LED floodlight, dual-lens cameras. Right now, we can't really criticise Synology to this because this is their first entry into this, and they're almost certainly going to expand within it. But there's still no avoiding that right now, if you were to jump into the world of Synology cameras, the range is a little underwhelming. This next point goes back to my earlier mentioning of the Synology Deep Video Analysis range of NAS devices, where the AI performance and analysis is done internally within internal hardware like the CPU, and in some cases using an onboard graphics card there. Yes, once again, you have people recognition, vehicle recognition, loitering detection, crowd detection, intrusion detection, and that instant search of the recorded footage there to analyze with the AI, as long as it's within the camera. But there are are certain deep video analysis AI supported services where that onboard hardware just can't cover. It just can't. And some of the range of services we can see here that are included that only work within the deep video analysis NAS range are kind of some of the key ones for a lot of businesses that run multi-site deployment and certainly larger staffing numbers. Vehicle and people counting. Facial recognition is a big one, which I'm kind of surprised wasn't at least available for at least adding that to a catalog. And license plate registration, particularly for those of you that want to know who is at your premises, whether they are authorized or not. These are things that aren't currently supported on those cameras. They might in a future firmware update as Synology roll them out, but still nonetheless they're not available yet. Another fantastically minor point, and some might say this is pretty obvious, but I do think it bears repeating. There is every possibility that the warranty on these cameras is only going to be covered if you're using them within a Synology NAS system. We've seen this time and time and again with Synology's upgrade cards to their hard drive, their SSDs, that if they're found to be used in non-Synology hardware systems, then it can potentially undermine any support they can give you. I know it seems kind of a no-brainer that most users wouldn't use a Synology camera with a non-Synology system due to its connection with the onboard firmware and AI services with Surveillance Station. But I do think that's worth highlighting. If you're going to get these and thinking to yourself, oh, well, I can use them for something else as well, or multi-purpose them via an OnViv shared use, that's really not something that's going to be great for your support long term. And if you thought my previous point was pretty minor, this one is absolutely minute, but it is something I think of a misstep on Synology with regard to these being rolled out. And that is that when it comes to Synology's surveillance platform, Surveillance Station, which once again I believe to be the best surveillance platform out there in the world of NAS and outside of NAS, it's so very good and responsive and well developed. I'm surprised there isn't any kind of roll in here with Synology's C2 platform, because Synology's C2 platform has currently Surveillance C2, which allows you to have another tier of recorded footage storage on your cameras. And much like we've spoken about before, that I'm surprised that Synology doesn't roll out a little bit of free token trial C2 storage with every Synology NAS system, even if it was just 50 or 100 gig. I'm really surprised that they've not taken the opportunity with these cameras to bolster and kind of promote C2 surveillance, something I personally use and love, that they don't roll in with a little bit of storage space for these cameras, particularly when we don't quite know the pricing yet. If you're going to include the license as well, and you've accepted that users that buy these are going to be enterprise led, why not give them an easier handhold into Surveillance C2 for the Synology platform there? But this has been a should you buy. A nice brief look at these cameras to find out more about them before we review our own units. But I will say right now others are reviewing them, and as you may have seen from the tab on the screen throughout this video, I strongly recommend checking out Willie Howe's channel, who we'll hopefully have on the channel in a month or so. But he has been one of the first in the world to get hold of these, and his review will hopefully arrive relatively soon, where he'll go into a proper deep dive about these cameras. So I recommend checking that out. Once it's live, I'll add that into the description below. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, there's a full breakdown article linked below. I'm sorry about the slowdown that may have occurred throughout this video. I'm not using my usual PC for this recording, and unfortunately I've not had a chance to optimize it for OBS, so I apologize if there has been slight drops in frame rate there. But if you want to learn more, the full article below that goes into, I would say, too much detail about these cameras and how they compare with the DVA systems and non-Synology cameras, linked below. And if you've enjoyed this video, stay tuned for the review in the near future, and I will see you next time.